Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the True Story FM Entertainment Podcast Network.
Andy, I'm Pete Wright. So much going on. Fury's got moves, and we get to go back to the colorectal laboratory almost? Oh, too much.
Why has that not died? I just don't know. That's right.
We're talking about over and over, Andy, so that you can't cut it from all subsequent episodes.
I get what you're doing. Trust me. Today we're talking about minute 80, which begins with Thor trying to put Hulk in a chokehold and ends with the young S.H.I.E.L.D. pilot dropping into position. Back on the show one last time this season is Jason Dittmer. Hello, Jason.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
We're thrilled. We're still in the middle of all the action of the attack on the helicarrier. Starting off with, we're still back on the lower docking area, and we get some awkward cuts here as Thor leaps onto Hulk's back and puts him in a chokehold with Mjolnir, and it doesn't really work. The scene ends as Hulk leaps, I guess, presumably through the ceiling into the room above, although we won't actually get to that room above, for quite a while. So it takes them a while to get from one floor to the other. So we're continuing the fight. How does this play, this bit with these two?
Well, it's very, very short, but I do want to just agree with you full-throatedly. It should have been done in one shot. Like they shouldn't have had to do that cut. It's a very strange cut to the over-the-top shoulder. It's too fast, and they didn't need it. They could have just gone straight to the bridge.
There's something about the cut when we cut to the two shot as Thor is leaping up on him. It doesn't really match with the action and the angle of what we were seeing with Thor as he's picking Mjolnir up. So I think, I suppose when you're watching the film in one fell swoop, you don't really pay attention too much to it. But
the camera's already doing something really cool, right? The camera is already pulling out and tilting, right? So it's already a weird sort of dizzy shot, like coming in close over the shoulder. It's I don't know. It's a little bit of a hat on a hat.
Yeah. But that takes us out of the lower docking area and back to the bridge. Finally, we get an over-the-shoulder of Fury as his ADR lines are talking to Agent Hill as she walks past. Something about the way that those lines play as she walks by. I'm just like,
ADR lines have also been anthropomorphized. Good.
There's no way that he said those lines on set. All of it is so artificial. Oh, jeez. We haven't really talked about Nick Fury with you much, Jason, because I don't think he was born yet when we were talking with you on Captain America last season. What are your thoughts about Samuel L. Jackson in the role here?
I mean, what is there to say except that he's amazing? I mean, tons of fun. I mean, there is something incredibly plastic about the character. He's Nick Fury's super spy. He's also apparently an aircraft carrier captain. Which, I'd like to point out is an entirely different kind of job than super spy. I mean, it's like saying someone could be president of the United States and also be a Michelin-starred chef. Right. I mean, they are two completely different gigs, requiring completely different skill sets, but somehow he manages to straddle both of them like a colossus upon two different aircraft carrier helicarriers.
Right, he wears helicarriers as shoes, I think is what we're saying.
Exactly. Yes. And then he walks across the U.S. delivering pipes to people in need.
I'm curious, though, Jason, for your lens, like I know talking about the Nationalist Superhero and focusing on Captain America, where does Nick Fury's sort of, the whole gestalt of Nick Fury fit into this? Because he is the arc toward fascism that S.H.I.E.L.D. is sort of like taking as we move through these movies, and I'm curious, like how he fits into the worldview of our herodom.
Well, it's a great question. I mean, he's I think you're right that as written in the MCU, he's a kind of uber security above all kind of figure,
right?
And in which ethics and so on really falls out. I mean, I think the comic book character is a kind of much longer and interesting arc, right? He starts as the Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos, which was a and I think we talked about this when we talked about Captain America, actually, that it was a war comic, which was a kind of genre, was actually quite popular back in the kind of 40s and 50s, made a brief comeback in kind of the 1980s as kind of Rambo and Vietnam and things like that kind of percolated through the pop culture realm. But so, he starts off as a military man, or the character does, obviously not this Nick Fury. And, and very much on the kind of anti-fascist side, obviously the Allies, but as a character who would reflect on, why we fight and that kind of a thing. And so the transformation into a super spy, I think, really comes about with the kind of evolution of the Cold War, and the kind of military side of things becomes obviously is the Cold War, thankfully, and so there wasn't much to tell that way, and so he becomes a super spy and the leader of SHIELD. But as you can see here, SHIELD is a kind of quasi-military institution, right? It's not clearly an intelligence agency. It's something more than that. And something which is really not very well illuminated in the story. They kind of don't talk a lot about it, even as it becomes an object of concern with Winter Soldier and so on.
Well, and even here, the way they tease the sort of shadow leadership is the World Security Council with faces obscured. Like, that doesn't breed a lot of patriotic sort of satisfaction, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make us feel like SHIELD is on the side of good.
No, and it's really unclear who it works for, who it answers to. There's both hearings in Congress about it at the end of Winter Soldier, and as you say, though, it's kind of scripted as being something bigger, or a kind of Illuminati kind of thing.
Right.
But at the same time, it has jet fighters and aircraft carriers. It's like, it doesn't fit very easily into any of our existing categories. And so I think Nick Fury is a character that needs to be kind of considered as ambiguous in multiple directions, right? As we say, he could be a military man. He can be an organizational bureaucrat. He can be a spy in the narrow sense. He's compelling in all those directions. And I think Samuel L. Jackson does a good job of trying to pull all that off.
Yeah, it goes to, I think it was Tomas Puello who talks about the idea of, being the best at something in the world, and like your skill sets, and you want to be really good at a few things so that you end up being the best in the world of the person who can handle those particular things, and so being a pilot of a helicarrier and a super spy, he's not the best of either of them, but he is so good at both of them that he's the best who can do both of them.
What if he's just really mediocre? Everyone's like, right. Nick's always stamping around like he's something else. But, the truth is we just need, you never know when you're going to need a pilot. And you never know when you're going to need a spy.
Super spy.
He'll do. That way we don't have to hire two guys.
Right? The whole story is him just failing up.
Just a mediocre white guy. He's not a mediocre white guy. But
that's pretty funny. All right, so we're at this point in the film where Barton's invasion of the helicarrier has finally reached the bridge. A grenade comes in. Hill sees it and tries to get out of the way. She's thrown back. Obviously, she'll be injured, but fine. She's got blood on her face, as we'll see a little in a minute. I want to start tracking, though, as we start taking out Barton's men to really get a sense as to where they all are and what they're doing, who gets killed, how many are left. So because as we saw,
if we don't do this, then who will?
That's exactly it, Pete. That's exactly
the kind of reporting that we need, that we specialize in.
At the start of the invasion, when we see Barton and his team on their Quinjet, all we can see are Barton and 6 other guys. So there's a total of 7 plus the 2 pilots. So there's actually 9 people on his team that he's presumably with. When they get off, we see the 7 of them running into the helicarrier, and that's where we are. Now, at this point in the bridge, Once the grenade goes off, we see Fury very quickly. I mean, this is, I guess, why he's the super spy. He goes and hides behind the doorway, waits for these two guys to come in. What he does is he grabs the gun from the second, hits him in the throat with his pistol, raises his gun, shoots the first guy, flips the second guy to the ground, hits the first guy who wasn't dead from the shot, hits him in the face to drop him. And then while he still is holding the second guy, he pulls him up by his gun and hits him a third time back to the ground. So that's Fury.
I mean, that sounds pretty mediocre to me. I mean, how many hits did it take there to get these guys down? I mean, no wonder he's kind of just passable.
He's fully mediocre.
Right. Yeah.
Far too many hits with each person.
And compared to immediately after this, Maria Hill hits third guy and takes him down in a shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
single shot, yeah.
And that's the thing, to be a high-ranking woman, you have to be that much better than your boss, right? This is the lesson we've learned.
This is exactly where we're going with this.
We laugh because if we didn't laugh, we'd cry.
That's right. So at this point, I guess, I'm assuming that the headshot that Hill took actually killed that person, whereas Fury presumably has two people who are still alive but unconscious. So let's just picture that as for where we are with these three people.
Right. So we have three is the total. The next time we see them in this minute, they're just shooting at more guys, but I don't think, do we ever see any evidence of actual guys on the bridge in this minute?
Well, you mean other people other than these three?
Yeah. Or are we just to assume that they're just shooting at the two guys that Fury already took down?
No, we do see the bodies on the ground. So later in this minute, we'll see the guy lying in the doorway who Hill had shot. Plus, we see at least one, maybe the two bodies that Fury left on the ground. And then the two of them, Fury and Hill, are both shooting at a fourth person who is coming in through the doorway. And that person does fall over. So I'm assuming that person also gets shot.
Okay.
So I'm assuming at this point we have two confirmed kills and two maybe just unconscious potential future prisoners.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm there. So 4. That's what we get.
And that's all we get in this minute as far as the attack on the bridge. We'll have a few other attacks around the ship, but at this point, that's where we sit.
Okay.
So it's going to be important for us, Pete, to track this as we go, just to see if mysterious extra people show up. That's really the goal here.
Can I raise a side issue?
Yeah, please.
Adjacent to the one you're doing?
We love adjacent issues.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm no military man, okay? I teach geography. It's about as far from being a killing machine as a person could get.
I don't know. Have you met any podcasters lately?
Let's assume there's a category of equally tough people that includes podcasters and geography professors. But, here we have Clint Barton, known killing machine, tactically leading this crew of people to the bridge, right? And we know from the subsequent dialogue that they are dressed fully in SHIELD uniforms. So in other words, they have the complete element of surprise. Nobody knows they're there. The place is already chaos because the Hulk and Thor and everyone else is having a fight.
And an engine has been blown up.
And they're worried about falling into New Jersey, which would worry many people.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. I know a lot of people who do a lot to avoid going to New Jersey. And I think the idea that they open with a grenade, keep in mind too, they're invading a bridge, which inexplicably, along with the larger spatial logics of this aircraft carrier, is about the size of a cafeteria. I mean, it's not the bridge of a vessel. It's like, a hotel lobby. So it's a huge area. And they give up the element of surprise by lobbing a grenade into the room before they've even entered it. I mean, it's, and so guess what? Now they're stuck in the doorway trying to, they could have just walked in, calmly taken up 3 different positions, spotted where Nick Fury is, gunned him down first. I mean, it is an absolute just disaster of an attack on the bridge.
I mean, Hans Gruber did it better with actual guys with guns invading a Christmas party and doing it silently.
And
here we give up
Gruberized this, it would have been a wholly different outcome.
Oh. They needed to Gruberize it.
They needed to Gruberize it.
What they need is a bit more Rickman.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much true of everything.
Yeah,
More Rickman, less Renner. Yeah.
Oh,
Ouch. The challenge is, when Barton came onto the ship, he sent 3 people, I believe, to the engine to stop them from doing the repairs. He sent 1 person to the holding cell, and then he said, the rest of you come with me. And so that's kind of the 3 spots that they went. And so I guess I'm assuming that the other 2 teams are playing the card of, we look just like you. We're going to just, go calmly and coolly to the spots where we've been sent.
Smart is what you would call that, I think.
Or smart. Yeah, absolutely. and getting into place to kind of deal with the situations in those areas. Because, remember, 6,000 people on board against 7. Let's just keep that in mind. So...
Yeah, why did they send D Squad to the bridge? That's the bigger question, I think, right now.
And the fact is that Barton is here, too. And of the people, you'd think that he would be playing this, of all areas, the smartest. But, they just go ahead and attack. And I guess that's the question, is like, why is this the strategy? Is it just to confuse them so they can get Loki out? Because really, the only reason they're here is to get Loki, right? And the scepter.
Yeah,
Is there any other reason that they've come up?
Demonstration of power? I don't know. I guess. But Loki demonstrates that he's able to kind of take care of himself.
Yeah. The one thing he can't do is fly a Quinjet. And so I guess that's what he needed.
Maybe that's it. He needed a ride.
But he can magic himself out, right? He can open up one of his secret back doors.
Why didn't he just magic himself to Passaic?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, this is clearly unsolvable.
It's almost as if it isn't real. We got to find a solution so that I don't have to alight on that.
Yeah.
On that conclusion.
It's it is one of my frustrations. I get it. They're trying to just create chaos, but at the same time, it's like maybe they didn't need to go to the bridge. I guess I'm not sure. Like, are they trying to take down Fury and Hill again? Is that the specific goal at this point? I just don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing.
But that would be a very strange outcome, given that they basically, Loki could have killed Nick Fury right at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So that's the confusing thing that I don't think is ever really cleared up as to why all of this is happening the way it is.
Do you think they came for the pipes?
Right.
We have no idea what the plumbing is like.
Probably really upset when they discovered that all the best pipes had already been destroyed by Hulk.
They didn't think it through, obviously.
Clearly. I think that's where we've landed.
Yeah.
They really didn't think
they
this
did not
through.
think this through.
No.
And then we end on then we cut right over to the plane.
Well, before that, we have Coulson. We get
Coulson.
a moment of Coulson here as he runs up.
Action.
He skips all of the regular guns, and he goes to the secret fancy weapons lockers, and that requires the biometric thumbprint and eye scan. Thank goodness it wasn't the same retinal scan that was required in Stuttgart.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah, having a machine that has to extract the eye to be scanned.
Yeah, this, especially on the helicarrier, that seems like it would be a rough addition, technological.
But
addition.
It would have answered our question: where did they get that device?
Exactly.
Yeah, you have the helicarrier. They use these for everything.
But we don't see what Coulson gets out of the
we
optical.
Don't.
I'm just picturing everyone with a lanyard with an eyeball hanging off of it. Just like, hang on, I'll tag in.
Yeah.
It's okay. He's with me.
It just doesn't get better. That eyeball, the ocular extraction never gets better. It really doesn't. Oh, so yeah, we do get Hulk and Thor finally bursting through the floor. It takes them a long time to get from where they were up to the Wishbone lab, but that's where they land, in the lab. Thor looks tired, Hulk grabs him, and this is where we get the conversation between Fury and Hill about how Hulk is going to tear this place apart. Fury tells her to get his attention, and that's where she calls in Escort 60 to engage with Hulk. This is the next the next part of our action sequence here as they're dealing with how do we deal with Hulk. Does this make sense as a smart way to get his attention?
I think the bigger question is who in the middle of a gunfight is thinking two moves ahead on the fight that you're not even in. I mean, it's like they're still shooting at people who are raiding the bridge, and he's like, "You know what I just thought about? The Hulk is going to tear this place apart. You know, why don't you do something about it?" Person who's shooting right now at the people who are shooting back at me.
And so the answer is, let's take a plane and have it shoot at us.
Yes. But really good shooting, the kind of shooting that hits your target and doesn't destroy any of the equipment around it.
Right. It'll be the best kind of shooting.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he's not a stormtrooper. He knows how to shoot. Name.
I mean, with his magical floating plane. I mean, there's so I had a glimmer of something here looking at that scene where it's like, okay, so my initial thought was, I find it really tedious the way they kind of turn the Quinjet into a Harrier jump jet, and this kind of floating around and it flies in all these ways. I realize that's possible. I'm not trying to say.
Well, this is a real plane. This is a real plane. This one,
the Harrier.
No, the Harrier. Yeah. The Harrier was destroyed. But what we have here, what our pilot is flying, is a Lockheed Martin F-35B Lightning II, and these can switch from conventional to vertical flight configuration.
Because I think these are the ones that have like they have a vent that somehow in the middle of the plane that allows it to propel down. The engine tilts down, its hovering. And then it allows it to hover in balance instead of having the Quinjet rotors. I
do apologize then, but I think that even throws even more interesting questions about the overlap between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the U.S. military.
Yes.
Right. But so then you have a brief view of the helicarrier, which has apparently just banks of jet engines to propel it forward.
Yes.
And I was just like, what is going on here? I mean, why not just give this thing wings and have it be a plane? I mean, why do you have to have this plane that launches planes? The whole thing to me is just sort of like, I don't know. Anyway, you've heard my views on this.
The biggest fan of the helicarrier right here, folks.
Yeah, right.
I mean, boats float so easily. It's free. The water does the lifting for you.
Right. So much physics just happens.
This is something we've known for a long time. To say, let's put that in the air, what will that cost us? That ought to be the end of that discussion because anyway.
So funny. Well, that does give us our young pilot that we have. Our young S.H.I.E.L.D. pilot is played by Walter Perez, and what that means is, of course, another IMDb game.
Yes.
I know it's
up, Andy.
I know it's hard to tell because he's got pilot gear on. You can't even see his face. He is completely obscured by all of this. But it is Walter Perez as the young S.H.I.E.L.D. pilot. The 4 films that IMDb says he is known for, of course, The Avengers is one of them. He's on here for that.
I can't believe you didn't even pause to give us a chance to get one. You just say Avengers so fast. We had a try, at least, because I don't know anything else.
I guess I was reading from the last time we did this where the Avengers was the obvious one, and you just said, I have no idea.
No, now I've learned. I can be taught.
Okay. All right. We have been talking about
Avengers.
Monkeys and trees, so you're learning like a monkey here. All right. I love it. The Avengers. Yes, Pete, you got it.
Okay. Outstanding. I feel better.
Right.
I needed a cookie.
I've been corrected. Walter Perez. Do either of you have any other ideas of films that Walter Perez has been in that would be his IMDb known for us?
I think he was in Scarface.
Well, let's see. I don't think...
Did he play the pilots in Top Gun who Tom Cruise was flying against and you never got to see their faces either?
I'm almost sure. I'm sure the cut of that aircraft garb.
Right. Well, see, Walter Perez was born in 1982, so he would have been a 4-year-old in Top Gun. He could have been Top Gun Maverick.
Well, they could have been 4 years old. You never see their faces. That's true. Just babies piloting.
Just another stuffed suit.
Well, the 4 films that it says, Fame, the 2009 musical version of Fame, updated for the big screen. He was in that. He was also in Line of Duty, 2013.
As a pilot?
A 2013 film with, Jeremy Ray Valdez, Fernando Romo, and Walter Perez are the 3 top billed people. So it's a, direct to DVD sort of thing that he was in.
Direct to my heart, more like it.
Last but not least, he was in a 2007 film called August Evening. And that's a story about an undocumented farm worker and his young widowed daughter-in-law as their lives are thrown into upheaval. So those are the 4 films that it says he's known for. There you go. Walter Perez, young SHIELD pilot.
Well, he does a great job.
It's just, he owns the scene, I feel like.
Owns the scene, owns the sky.
He's firmly in control of the plane. And
the plane, which does exist. So.
Yeah, which does exist. And therefore he exists. And I don't know. I got nothing.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm looking forward to talking more about him and what he decides to do when it comes to Hulk. We will talk about that more next week as we get into that. But that's it for this week's Minute. I think we've pretty much covered the gamut over these 5 episodes with you, Jason. All sorts of conversations in all sorts of directions. We certainly appreciate you joining us to be here for all of it.
It's my pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of laughs and of course, a very tiny amount of movie.
Very tiny amount.
Truly.
That's what we're here for. Absolutely. Tell everybody one last time about your book and where they can find it.
Oh, my book, Andy?
Oh.
Apart from the cases of it that are on your children's bookshelf.
I gotta move these copies. It's called Captain America, the Nationalist Superhero, and it's a scholarly investigation of the nationalist superhero genre and its emergence in America in World War II. And it's, shall we say, immigration to Canada and then across the ocean to the United Kingdom much later. But it's available. It makes the perfect 4th of July gift. And I hope you guys get a chance to take a look at it.
Definitely check it out. The link is in our show notes, so you can just click on that, go right to the site, and get your own copy. And if you're not seeing the links in your podcatcher, just go to our website, marvelmovieminute.com, and you can click on it there. You can also learn about our membership program, where you can get early access to the episodes, plus get them ad-free, which we all love. So that's it for today. We'll be back next week. Ryan Bennett is joining us to talk about Minute 81. So should be a lot of fun to talk with her about that. So, Pete, thanks as always.
Minute 81, be careful, you guys. Iron Man shoots a laser right in your eyeball.
Pew, pew, pew.
So rude.
Uh-oh. Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.